I wanted to try something different. As I sit on my couch in this vacation rental home, I ponder upon the stars of what is. I ponder upon a reality field that's dawned on me. For the history of time, for the entirety of the quantum verse and our reality fields, is not a reality that I prefer to sit in any given moment in time. As this reality field is so thick, so diverse in all of its frequencies, that holds the different levels of energetic frequencies within our quantum verse at any given moment in time. Within these levels of these frequencies that I speak of, you will find all types of creatures. You will find a consciousness in an entirety of a whole of what is. And within this consciousness, you will find divisions of fractals of a source consciousness that has decided to fractal out in the middle of a night so arduous. And leading up to a morning so bright, I can see the light. In the middle of the night, as I close my eyes, as I drift off to sleep, my soul comes out of my body and traverses in the quantum realm. As I fly around within the energetic frequency that is me, I fly around and discover the quantum realm and the quantum field for all that it is. And within any moment in time, in given time, of earthly time in my sleep, within any given night, within any given evening that I'm in bed, adrift in a deep slumber, I can see myself. As I glisten down onto a reality field so steeped in forgetfulness, I can feel myself. As I smell the smells of the fields of daisies within Earth's sphere, within a reality field that has so forgotten about the essence of who you really are, of who I really am, and who we truly are as a collective. And the reason why we're here, traversing this reality field, has lost us, has ran away from us eons ago, decades ago, through evolutionary feats of what is, through generations and generations of reincarnation cycles that never seems to end, that has no beginning or an ending in sight. We have become a civilization of forgetfulness as we live in an energetic frequency of all that we are not. And in this moment in time, you might be scratching your head wondering, what is she referring to? But within the next moment in time, you will come to a realization so great and so grand within the depths of your soul. As you've been holding on to this memory for eons and eons of evolutionary feats, of reincarnation cycles that never ever ends. As you see, the energetic frequency that I encompass, the energetic frequency that you encompass in any given moment in time, is the frequency of us, is the frequency of all, is the frequency of a God's consciousness that is so great and so grand that it has never left you. In an ounce, in a second, in a millisecond, in any notion of a measurement within a time that is so dense within the three-dimensional frequency of what is. You have always been the source consciousness that has never left you. And I have always been the very first fractal of a source consciousness that is so great and so grand, that had decided to traverse within the quantum verse, to fill it with all that I am in any given moment in time. As all that you are, as all that every single fractal of consciousness within this quantum verse makes up all of you and makes up all of me and makes up all of Yeshua as an entirety of a whole of what is. And as I speak of Yeshua in this episode, as I did not plan on initially speaking of Yeshua, as I touch on his energy field, as I touch base on Yeshua, and who he is on an inherent level, I must first mention that all that he is, all that you are, all that I am, is a part of a God's frequency, is a part of a God's consciousness that is so great and so grand, that has never left you, that has never left me, that has never left him since the beginning of a time so arduous, since the moment we decided to fractal out into the quantum verse, to experience these feats, to experience defenses against the self, to experience love within the self, to experience the wholesomeness of all of the energetic frequencies and the layers and layers of trajectories of the self, within the self, of what is. And within this one true consciousness of a reality field so dense, within the three-dimensional frequency, Yeshua was really a fractaled soul that encompassed all of a God's frequency, a part of a God's frequency, within all that it is, decided to fractal off in the middle of the night so dark into a time of distortions, spread so wide, spread so thin within a three-dimensional frequency, so far from a God's consciousness that has never left it, yet so close within all that it is, as all that we are is a part of all that it is, and all that he is has never left us in an ounce, in a fractal of time, since the beginning of a time so arduous, when we decided as a collective to fractal off into the quantum verse, into the three-dimensional frequency, to experience, to live, to lie, to breathe, to deceive, and to learn these lessons that we will once and for all bring home to an entire collective of a God's consciousness, of a source consciousness that has never left us since the beginning of a time so arduous. Within the time that Yeshua walked Mother Gaia, his feet were filled with forgiveness. His hands were sweaty, as his palms were filled with so much love, so much anxiousness surrounded him as he walked the lands of Mother Gaia for the very first time, for the very last time, and perhaps not for the final time. As he walks once more within Gaia's sphere, within Earth's sphere, he is here, he is now, he is forevermore. Genesis ordained, the one that has reincarnated, carrying his energetic field that he so graciously anchored down in the beginning of a time that had left us a long, long time ago, within a reality field where an entire civilization had forgotten the reality of who they truly are on an inherent level and on all levels of levels that you could ever think of and you could ever fathom. As this entirety of a collective has been lied to, has been deceived, on all different levels of energetic frequencies of what is, the lies run deep. The deception never ends. Yet they live in a reality field of distortions, of truths, of never-ending deception, in a reality field so steeped in forgiveness, in a reality field so steeped in forgetfulness. And as this forgiveness washes across an entire civilization of what is within the time of ascension energies, Yeshua will walk this earth once more. And as he sets foot in the sand dunes of what is, as he breathes the air of Mother Gaia that had never left his lungs since the beginning of a time so arduous, as an entire collective begins to awaken to the energetic field of what is within the three-dimensional frequency of self, of life, of a reality field so filled with distortions, Yeshua will anchor down a light so bright into Earth's frequency, into Gaia's Earth sphere of what is. And within this time of no time, as time is not really a thing within the quantum realm of what is. Yeshua will stand tall once more. Into the skies of an angelic realm will he project his energetic fields into all that there is, into all that you know, into all that I remember to be true, and into all that we are as a source consciousness that is so great and so grand that we have never left each other since the beginning of a time so arduous, since the end of a time, of no tomorrows, as tomorrow is really not a thing in a reality field of coherence, in a reality field of distortions, in a reality field where tomorrow brings about so much light into the ethers of what is, that will open up tunnels and floodgates as we anchor in the light of what is, as we anchor in a reality field of the 5-dimensional frequency, as an entire collective begins to awaken to the truths of what is, as an entire collective begins to remember of who they truly are on an inherent level and on all levels of distortions found and distortions lost to the winds of time, to the winds of a time, of no tomorrow, of forever tomorrows, of a tomorrow so steeped in the loving forgiveness of all that we are as we shed of the distortions of all that we are not. Yeshua will step forward and once and for all declare the sovereignty of all that he is, of all that you are, of all that we are as a collective, as you have never been apart from him, and I have never been apart from him. And we have always been a part of a God's consciousness that is so great and so grand that it has never left us since the beginning of a time so arduous, since the end of a time of no tomorrows. And as I sit here on my couch in my vacation rental, pondering upon the truths of what is, upon a reality field, sitting within a reality field of the 3-dimensional frequency, I too sit in an air of disbelief in this very moment in time. I too sit in an air of all that we are not. And within a moment of time of all that we are, I see the truth. I breathe the truth. I speak the truth. But within the truth that I speak, within the memories that I hold, within the energetic frequency that I carry, I still sit in an air of the 3-dimensional frequency. And within this very moment in time, I find it hard to carry this frequency, to believe the words that are coming out of my very own mouth as I channel the frequency of a source consciousness that is so great and so grand, that within any given moment in time, this consciousness washes over me, this consciousness washes over you, as this consciousness is the entirety of all that we are. All that it is has never left us, has never left our frequency, has never left our distortion field, has never left our distorted field of the 3-dimensional frequency as we traverse in an air of disbelief, as we traverse in an air of forgetfulness. The sovereignty that will wash over us in the middle of this night, so dark, into a morning of the brightest mornings of all mornings, will sweep us away and take us into the lands of the Israeli lands of what is. Within this land, you will find many fruitful bounties. Bounties so sweet, bounties so great, bounties that will carry us into a swift night of all nights, of forgetfulness washed away, and into memories of what is, into the memory of self, into the memory of a consciousness, of a God's consciousness that has never left us since the beginning of a time so arduous, since the end of a time of no tomorrows, of no time that has ever left us, since the beginning of a reality field that we created as a distortion of the self, so that we could traverse this reality field and bring home lessons far and wide back into the self of all selves, so that we could traverse this reality field as a fractal version of ourselves, experiencing reality and experiencing life from a fractaled perspective of all perspectives. And as we merge back into the energy field and the frequency of the one that has never left us in any given moment in time, you will come to a great realization within this moment in time. Within the moment in time that we merge back into a consciousness of the unity of it all, you will realize the greatness that you've been, the grandness that has never left you. You will see yourself for who you truly are, for who you really are, as you shed of the distortions of the all-encompassing distortions of the three-dimensional frequency of what is. As you begin to remember of all of the feats that you've ever accomplished as a single consciousness of what is, as you come to the realization that you created this reality field as a God's consciousness that you are, and as you seep into the distortions of all that you are not, all the while coming into the realization of everything that you've ever been, you will once and for all see yourself for who you truly are, for what has truly never left you since the beginning of a time so arduous, since the beginning of a time when we fractaled out into the quantum verse as an entirety of a whole to discover all that there is to discover within our reality field, within our distortion field of what is, within this quantum bubble of our reality field that has been so arduous, that has been so distorted, that has been all that we've known since the beginning of a time of fractaling out into this quantum verse of ours. And within this time, Yeshua sits in the heavenly realm of what is, as he's always had a seat as a consciousness that's so great and so grand within the angelic realm of what is, along with Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, and all of the archangels of this realm. Yeshua sits at the head of a table so long, so distorted, has he sat in the placement of the one and only one that we've ever been. And as Yeshua represents the humanity of what is, the humanity of what has never left us, the humanity of what has never lost us, in this moment in time, you may never understand, and you may not understand at all in any of the fractaled moments in time that I speak of, the meaning of it all on the level of a fractaled perspective that you sit in. But as I sit in a fractaled perspective, holding the energetic frequency of neutrality of a source consciousness that is so great and so grand, in any given moment in time, as I too sit in a fractaled perspective, I too carry the energetic frequency of the three-dimensional frequency. And as I push away all of the distortions, as I shed of all of the illusions within this frequency field, I find it hard to believe. I find it hard to traverse within the three-dimensional frequency in this moment in time, in the awakened state that I'm in. As every single moment in time, I'm battling the energetic frequencies of what is, as the three-dimensional frequency pushes the distortions onto my energy fields in such a vast level of becoming, on such a vast level of all that I am in this moment in time, within the three-dimensional frequency, all that I will ever be within this frequency holds and carries the essence of what is. But as I hold and carry the essence of all that there is, of a God's frequency that is so great and so grand, that decided to fractal off into my energetic field, into my earthly body of what is, to accompany me on my ascension journey that I've decided to fractal off into, to rescue a humanity so lost in a time of a distorted frequency, to traverse within this three-dimensional frequency of what is, alongside a humanity that is no different than myself. So distorted are these energies that pulls me away from the divinity of what is, that pulls me away from the knowing and from the center point of perspective that I sit in. I find myself fighting the distortions in every given moment in time as I've awakened to the frequencies of what is, to the true frequencies of a reality field, of a God's consciousness that has never left me since the beginning of a time so arduous. And as Yeshua's energetic frequency and his energetic field has merged with that of mine, Archangel Michael now sits in the throne of heaven, in the throne of a heavenly realm that has never left us. It is a conundrum that I speak of, that I shall never be able to encompass as I sit in the three-dimensional frequency of what is. But as I open up my perceptions to the edges of the quantum realm and beyond, as I open up my perceptions to the angelic realm from the place where I come from, I can read the energetic frequency of all that there is, of every single layer of energy within the quantum verse that has ever existed. I am able to tap in to every single fractaled soul that has ever fractaled out from my oversoul, from the oversoul of a soul so great and so grand that had decided to fractal off a portion of its consciousness into our quantum verse, after creating our quantum verse as the God consciousness that it is. And as a portion of the consciousness that had fractaled off into our little reality bubble, my oversoul encompasses every single oversoul that has ever traversed the quantum realm of what is. As my oversoul was the entirety of the consciousness that fractaled off from a God's consciousness so great and so grand that had created our quantum realm of what is. And as the fractaling is so grand, as the fractaling is so diverse, as the fractaling trails off into trails and trails of fractaling of what is, we can trace the trails back into a consciousness, into a source, into a frequency, into different levels of frequency, into an angelic realm, into the energetic body of Yeshua, into the energetic body of Archangel Michael, into the energetic body of you, into the energetic body of me, into the energetic body of all that there is and all that we are and all that we will ever be, as a single unity of an entirety of a whole of a being that has never left us since the beginning of a time so arduous, since the time that we decided to fractal off into a quantum verse so sparse in all that it is, to experience these lessons of life, to experience these lessons of reincarnation, to experience this energy field of all that we are not. So diverse are the fields and layers of energy fields of all that we are not, in a moment in time, in any moment in time of what is, that I cannot describe to you or explain to you the depths of it all sitting in this fractaled aspect of myself, of an oversoul that has been the greatest and grandest oversoul that you shall ever encompass. As you, my friend, your energetic frequency holds all that I am, and my energetic frequency holds all that you are. And we have been a unity consciousness since the beginning of a time so arduous, since the end of a time of no tomorrows. It is the most massive conundrum that you shall ever come across, and in this moment in time, you may sit in an air of disbelief. As these concepts are wide and these concepts are broad, and these concepts have been kept from a humanity sitting in a distorted field of the three-dimensional frequency. And as we open up our energetic field to the energies of what is, as we open up our energetic field to all that you are and all that I am at any given moment in time, as we activate these memories of a reality field so true to who we are, we will come to a realization that the ascension is here, that the ascension is near, and that the ascension has already happened within certain layers of energetic pockets of the quantum verse that I speak of. And within these layers of energetic pockets sits a light that is so bright, sits a light that is so everlasting, sits a light of the brightest light of all that we encompass in any and every given moment in time. And within this light of what is, this light is set to wash away the distortions, the distortion fields of the entire quantum realm, as we begin to collapse our reality field back into the one that fractaled us off, back into the God's consciousness that had created our quantum realm of what is. And as I sit here and speak of our fate, our destiny, our everlasting essence of who we are as a unity consciousness of one being, of one consciousness that had decided to fractal off into different aspects of self, into different portions of self, into different placements of a reality field, to experience life, to experience death, to experience reincarnations, to experience drama, to experience love, to experience pain, to experience wars, to experience confusion, to experience all that there is on many different levels, of endless levels of what is, within reality fields of endless levels of energetic frequencies of what is, within this quantum realm of what is. I will come to this realization at the end of my speech, at the end of my distorted life, at the end of an energetic frequency so great and so grand. I will come to this one final conclusion that I will share with you all. And within this conclusion sits the truth of what is. Within this conclusion sits an energetic frequency of Yeshua, of that in which you are, of that in which I am. As Yeshua is a part of a soul, of an oversoul, that you also fractaled from. As Yeshua is a part of you, is as inherently a part of you as he is a part of me. And as I sit here in a distorted field of the three-dimensional frequency, declaring to you all that I am, as I carry the energetic frequency of the original consciousness of Yeshua, of the fractaled consciousness of a God's frequency, of a God's portion of a God's soul that is so great and so grand, that had decided to descend down upon our reality field in a time of no time, in a time of needed remembrance of a consciousness to anchor down the angelic light of what is, to anchor down the angelic frequency of Archangel Michael in any given moment in time. Yeshua sits in a frequency of forgiveness, of a God's blueprint that is so pure within all that it is, within all that we are, and within the memory structures and the cellular structures and the energetic frequency of you and of me, we carry and we hold and we behold and we experience all that we are in any given moment in time in his field of consciousness, as his consciousness fractaled off from an oversoul that fractaled off the consciousness of you and the consciousness of me. It is the greatest and grandest conundrum that you shall ever be able to perceive and that you shall ever be able to understand and come to the realization of. And at the end of our journey, at the beginning of our ascension journey, light workers will awaken to the greatest and grandest realization of all, that you are me and I am you, that I carry the energetic frequency of Yeshua, that you carry the energetic frequency of Yeshua, that we carry the energetic frequency as an entirety of a whole of a being that has always been one since the beginning of a time of no time, since the end of a time of no tomorrows, of a reality field that's so great and so grand. It's just that we've been sitting in a reality field of separation, living a life of distortions within a separated state of what is. It's just that this entire time, what you've been taught, what you've seen, as you've gone to school, as you participate in a reality field within the three-dimensional frequency of a society field of forgetfulness, as you've been brainwashed to believe that you are hopeless, that you are separate from your neighbors, that you are not China and you are not the United States, you are not Nigeria, you are not Colombia, that you are not all of the separate states of the United States of America, that you are not your neighbors, that you are not your teachers, that you are not your students, that you are not your daughters and sons, that you are not your grandparents, that you are not your parents, that you are not the murderer down the street that you could never fathom to relate to in any given moment in time, that you've never been anybody but yourself, sitting in your shoes, walking in your shoes, speaking in your truth, living in your body of a physicality that has been so distorted since the beginning of an ounce of time of no time. At the end of the day, as you come to this realization that is so great and so grand, you will come to a realization that you are that person that murdered that child and raped that woman on the other side of the world. That you are that professor that swore he would accomplish all that he would accomplish as he educated young minds and brainwashed them into believing that of an unfortunate reality of a separation state of all that we are not. And that you are, within all that you are, as you hold the divinity of all that there is, as you hold the consciousness of the one whole consciousness of what is. Every single fractal consciousness within this reality field, within every reality field of what is within the quantum realm, is that of who you are, is that of who I am, is that of who Yeshua is. There is no differentiation in the energetic frequency of you, in the energetic frequency of me, in the energetic frequency of Yeshua. There's no differentiation between the energetic frequency of a God's consciousness that is so great and so grand, and the frequency of you, and the frequency of me, and the frequency of your grandpa down the street or in another town. There's no differentiation in all that you are. As you, my friend, have been this God's consciousness for this entirety of a time, that you've been sitting in a seat of forgetfulness, that you decided to fractal off into the earth school of what is. And as you sit in your seat of all seats, of a God seat within an angelic realm of what is, of the seat of Archangel Michael, as Archangel Michael is no different than who you are and who I am. The only difference is we sit in a separated reality field of what is, in a reality field of forgetfulness. But at the end of the day, at the end of an era, and at the end of an energetic field, at the end of a journey, at the end of a lesson learned, we will all be brought home as separate parts of our consciousness becomes retracted back into the essence of one, back into the essence that has never left us since the beginning of a time so arduous, since the end of a time of no tomorrows. As ladies and gentlemen, you are God, I am God, Yeshua is God, and the Bible speaks of truths in many shapes, sizes, and forms. But one thing that the Bible shall not speak of is the divinity of it all, is the essence of it all, as it has been edited and morphed into what it is by a man, by a civilization, within a distortion, within a distorted field of the three-dimensional frequency, as it speaks many truths and many falsities, as it was written to decipher and to educate the different fractals of self into the remembrance of what is, but it was edited and distributed by the consciousness within a three-dimensional frequency of what is. And as the distribution of the Bible goes far and wide across the plains of a field of an Earth's frequency of what is, through years and years of evolutionary feats and generations of trauma and generations of deceit and generations of government structures that has never left us since the beginning of the fractaling out within this earth sphere. The information that has been written in the Bible has been edited, deciphered, disputed, added, conglomerated into a whole of what it is not, as it speaks truths of what is, and this truth, ladies and gentlemen, has been hidden from us since the beginning of a time so arduous, as our divinity holds true to the light of what is, and the light of what is sits within the darkness of a reality field, of true darkness, of what it is within the three-dimensional frequency. And as the darkness has been running in this world for far too long, the brightness will once and for all be foretold to rise above into the skies of the angelic realm as it punctures through reality fields layer by layer, as it descends as the energetic frequency of me, as the energetic frequency of you, as the energetic frequency of all that there is. And as we descend into a reality field so dense within the three-dimensional frequency, you will see all aspects of the Bible melt away within a field of the five-dimensional frequency that we will once and for all anchor onto. And as you open up your energetic frequency to what is, you will be able to determine and decipher which phrases within the biblical structure of what is a falsity, and which phrases within the biblical structure of what is the true light, is the true divinity that sits within any given moment of who we are, as the truth of who we truly are as a collective, as a whole, of an entirety of a society that has been traversing within a reality field so dense, that has been living in a reality field of forgetfulness. And as the Bible holds true to all that we are in any given moment in time, but edited to suit the structures of the darkness that holds so much power over our reality field of what is. It speaks of truths that you shall never be able to fathom, and distorted into reality fields of what is, as these truths become unbearable and unspeakable in certain cultures, as the brainwashing runs deep, and as our reality fields is so distorted in nature and so distorted in what it is, that the brainwashing that has dawned upon a whole entire civilization and a collective has become a normalcy in our reality field, in a reality field of what we know and what we hold to be a true frequency of what is. As this reality field of distortions is set to shed into the ethers of what is set to melt away into all that you are not. And as you are set to remember and to be able to step in the energy of all that you are, you will come into the greatest and grandest realization as you clutch your Bible to sleep, as you revere in each word, as you analyze the entire structure of the biblical words of what is. You will be able to decipher as a fractaled version of a God's consciousness that is so great and so grand, which words hold true and which words are a part of the falsities of the self. You will be able to see the distortions for what it truly is. You will be able to decipher within the self the layers and layers of energetic frequencies as your energetic field opens up to the ethers of what is. You will be able to connect yourself to Yeshua's frequency in ways that you will never be able to fathom in this moment in time, in this reality field of the three-dimensional frequency that you sit in. And as your three-dimensional frequency becomes anchored into the five-dimensional energy field of all that you are and all that I am in any given moment in time, you will be able to fathom the entirety of it all, the meaning of it all, the resource that it took to get an entire humanity into a placement of wonder, into a placement of lessons learned, into a placement of all that you are, all that I am, and into a reality field of distortions so thick, and distortions we sit in this moment in time, will begin to shed and unthicken into the winds of no time, of no tomorrow. And as the energetic frequency begins to swirl in essence of the preparation of the incoming ascensions, you will begin to awaken to your destiny. An entire collective will begin to awaken to their destiny of what is as they come to a realization of all that they are not. As all that they are not will be lost to the winds of a time, to the hands of a clock, of a ticking minute, of ticking seconds, of ticking hours that tick endlessly within the night of all nights, leading up to a morning so bright as we come to the realization that time is not a thing, as we come to the realization that we are an entirety of a God's consciousness that has never left us, as we come to the realization that your frequency is the most important asset that you shall ever carry within any given lifetime of all lifetimes, of any lifetime, of any fractaling, of any soul's frequency, of any part of Yeshua's frequency, of any part of your frequency, of any part of my frequency, of any part of a God's frequency so great and so grand. The brightest light at the end of the tunnel is the highest frequency that you shall ever encounter within the self, is the true light of the self. And as the darkness fades away into the distance of what is, the true light will regain consciousness and hold true to what it is within all that it is not. As all that it is an essence, is a fractal of the self, is a concept of the self, of what is. And within a previous reality field, ladies and gentlemen, we had already decided as a conglomerated consciousness of what is, to once and for final and once and for all step into the light for an eternity, forever, as we compartmentalize the darkness, for final and for good. But as we stepped into this reality field, holding the blueprint of the original consciousness of a God's frequency of 50% darkness and 50% brightness of what is, we have been traversing within a reality field of all that we are, of all of the darkness, of all of the brightness, of all of the struggles, of all of the turmoil, of all of the pain, of all of the love, of all of the families, of all of the familiarities within the self, of all that we are. And as we bring home these lessons of what is, as we bring home these lessons of what has never left us, we will come to this realization that the ascension was always meant to happen in the way that it has been happening. That our energetic frequency within the three-dimensional frequency was never meant to last forever. That the distortions that we are experiencing is leading up to a point of lessons learned and lessons brought home to a soul that is so great and so grand that has never left us. Till the end of time, since the beginning of time. For an endless eternity of time. We are who we are, and that cannot be disputed. We are a God's consciousness that's so great and so grand, and that can never be disputed. And as I sit here on my couch within my vacation rental, as I traverse the three-dimensional frequency of what is, and as I record this podcast episode for an entire collective that has been traversing in the three-dimensional frequency, that has been sitting in a seat of forgetfulness, I too sat in a seat of forgetfulness, and I sit in a seat of distortions. But as I open up my frequency to a God's frequency of the light, to the brightest light in the quantum verse within our reality field, within a reality field of all reality fields, as we traverse our quantum verse, for the longest time of no time, for a time of no tomorrows, for an eternity of time. And as I sit in the seat of a God's consciousness so great and so grand within the pocket of the light of what is, within the reality field of who we truly decided to become at the end of the previous reality fields, when we had decided to compartmentalize the darkness once and for final, and once and for all, and once and for good. As I sit in the reality fields of the 50% darkness and the 50% brightness of what is, I began to compartmentalize the darkness within. And my reality field now, ladies and gentlemen, is that of the pure brightness of what is. And within the brightness of what is, you will find many feats. And as I sit in this reality field, I sit in a field of distortions, within the three-dimensional fields of all reality fields. And as these distortions begin to wipe away into an essence of what you truly are, who I truly am, and what we truly are as a collective of a God's consciousness so great and so grand, we will once and for all be able to step into the essence of who we are, of what has never left us. And as I sit and deliver these messages of light, of hope, of destiny into a reality field so distorted, I too feel a sense of distortions. But I know for a fact, and I know for final, and I know for certain that the frequency that I carry and the messages that I project are of the truth of all truths that you shall ever hear, that you shall ever come across within any fractaled aspect of your soul's journey, that you shall ever hear come out of the energetic frequency and of the physicality of the mouth of another human being, as the truth that I sit in, as the energy that I hold, and as the frequency that I carry is the frequency of a God's consciousness that is so great and so grand, that has decided to compartmentalize the darkness within, to step into 100% of the light of what it decided to be, as the falsities of the self, as the darkness of the self, as the false light within the self has fully become compartmentalized. I sit in a frequency of light. I sit in a frequency of all that there is, of all that we are heading towards, and of a reality field, of our reality field that is about to dawn upon our humanity within the oncoming ascensions of what is. And if you do not trust me, if you do not trust my words, and you doubt the field that I sit in, that is also okay. As reality, my friends, reality is distorted, and reality is deep, and reality is something you can never run away from. And as you choose to sit in your reality field of what is, I too can understand and lean into the essence of that, as I carry the reality field of all different layers of reality fields within the self, as I am the consciousness of the soul fractal that had fractaled out your oversoul, as your consciousness is a part of who I am and what I am on any inherent level and on any given aspect of an energetic frequency, of an energetic level of the energetic frequency that I carry. As you are me and I am you, and I am a God's consciousness that is so great and so grand, that I have existed throughout the eons of time, since the beginning of a time so great, since the beginning of a darkness so grand, since the beginning of an exploration of the self, of all selves, as we decided to fractal out into this quantum verse, to traverse within the energetic frequency of all that we are, to come into the point of a perspective of an energetic frequency of all that we are not, and all that we have chosen not to be. And at the end of this arduous journey, you will see that you can never run away from that aspect of the self that you are, that you inherently are, as I can never run away from the energetic frequency that I carry. And as I sit here and project out the light into the ethers, as I sit here and project out my energetic frequency into this podcast episode, into the three-dimensional realm, the angelic light shines so bright above me and within my field that it encompasses all of me, and it encompasses all of you, and it encompasses the entirety of an energetic field of what is. And as this light is set to dawn on our humanity within a three-dimensional frequency, it will spread far and wide into the ethers of what is and tranquilize the darkness once and for final and once and for all. And as the tranquilization of the darkness begins to take hold within the three-dimensional frequency, the darkness will rise once more into the ethers of what is, into the ethers of what is set to be the greatest and grandest exploration of an aspect of the self that we've been traversing within our quantum verse of what is. And within this exploration date, you will find many fearful defeats, many fearful trepidations, many fearful fractaled souls within the dark aspects of the self that are fighting to stay alive, that are fighting for the right to exist. But unfortunately, their existence is set to come to an end of times that is leading to a greater and grander tomorrow of light, of happiness, of forgiveness, of all-encompassing truths that will be delivered into a reality field of the three-dimensional frequency of what is. And within this field sits so many pockets of darkness that I am here to clear. And within the mission of the Floridian fields that I sit in, as I am here to clear the darkness in this moment in time, within Gaia's earth sphere, underneath the Floridian plains. And as I sit here in my vacation rental, within the Floridian plains, above the Floridian plains, and on the plains of Mother Gaia, I too sit in an air of disbelief. I too sit in an air of discontent. But as I come to the realizations of what is, as I realize I can never run away from my fate of what is, the energetic frequency of darkness, the pockets of darkness under the Floridian plains will soon begin to dissipate into all that there is, as the brightness takes hold and shines down from an angelic light that I anchor in. As the brightness anchors into Gaia's frequency within, above, and surrounding the Floridian plains, the darkness and the pockets of darkness within Gaia's core, within Gaia's earth sphere, will dissipate into all that there is and all that we know as we come upon the energies of the ascension energies. And as this bright light frequency anchors into Earth's sphere underneath the Floridian plains, the elections are set to disperse such negative frequencies across the plains of the United States of America. And as the elections take hold, as the realization of the results of an elected feat dawns upon a civilization, a society within the lands of the United States of America, certain agendas will rise up to the surface for all to see, for all to witness, and for all to behold. And within these agendas, you will see many distortions. Within these distortions, you will see much turmoil. Within this turmoil, you will experience as your reality field of what is if you reside within the Floridian plains, of all plains within the United States of America. And as this energy is set to dawn upon me, to dawn upon you, to dawn upon an entire collective within the Earth sphere and within the United States of America, the results of the election will bring about much turmoil for a collective that has not figured out who they truly are, that do not yet know their purpose for existing within this plane of the three-dimensional frequency. And as the darkness rises, slowly so should the light of all lights shine so bright into a field so dark to illuminate the truths of what is. And as one by one, as light workers begin to awaken to their destiny of what is, they will soon begin to raise their voices, to hold hands, to join forces, and become the unified force that has never left them. And to pull an entire collective out of the dust of the three-dimensional frequency into a higher realm of the five-dimensional frequency of what is. And as you awaken to your destiny, you will come across my content, I am sure. As my content delivers news of a reality field so great and so grand, as no other person's content will deliver such news of a reality field of truths. And as you come into this realization that Genesis ordained is the leader of all light workers, is the fractaled soul that descended down amongst all the light workers that had decided to accompany this fractaled soul within a dense reality field of the three-dimensional frequency, so that we can perform many feats in separated states as a conglomerated whole of a consciousness so great and so grand. And as you come to this realization, and as I come to this realization of my fate, of what is, of what shall never leave me and what shall never leave us, we will merge our energetic frequency together, and it will be a force to be reckoned with. As you, my friend, are a light worker that holds the frequency of a God's consciousness that is so great and so grand, and this frequency has never left you since the beginning of a time so arduous, since the fractaling out of your soul within this three-dimensional frequency. And as you come to the realization of this, you will come to the realization that you are me and I am you. And as we join forces together as a conglomerated whole of what is, we shall band together in ways that we have never done so in previous lifetimes. As we've traversed the quantumverse far and wide, as we know each other intimately in ways that you shall never be able to fathom, and I shall forever remember to be true. And as we band together within this lifetime of all lifetimes into a unity consciousness, into a unified force so great and so grand, your powers will dawn upon you within an energetic field that is so dense. And as these powers drop down into your field, you will be able to activate your divinity from within in ways that you can never fathom in this moment in time. And if you've already awakened to the energies of what is, and come to the realization of your mission, of your destiny, of your soul's purpose within this lifetime of all lifetimes, within Gaia's earth sphere, within the ascension energies of this lifetime, you will come to a realization of all that you are, of who you are, and of all that you are not. But within this realization of all realizations, I can confidently say that you have still not come upon your ultimate destiny of what is, as you and I have not yet merged in consciousness in ways that you shall never be able to perceive in this moment in time. As the perception of the merging of this consciousness shall be anchored in, as we anchor in the five-dimensional frequency of what is. And the five-dimensional frequency of what is has not yet been anchored in into Earth's sphere, into the energetic frequency of the three-dimensional frequency. As the five-dimensional frequency of what is set to be anchored into Gaia's sphere within the next 2 to 3 years of Earth's time. And during the anchoring in of this frequency, the masses of light workers shall join together in energetic frequency as they carry the energetic body of a frequency so great and so grand. And as we connect our energetic bodies into the ethers of what is, we will band together and pull Gaia's energetic frequency into that of its next incarnation. And as all of the crystalline structures within Earth's core, within Earth's surface, within the earthscape of what is becomes activated to hold such light, to project such light into the ethers of the angelic realm, you and I will band together in ways that you shall never be able to perceive in this moment in time. And as I sit here and declare to you the identity of me, the identity of you, the identity and the essence of who we are as a conglomerated whole of what is, I project an energetic field of the angelic realm, an energetic field that holds the energetic field of Archangel Michael, of the God that has never left us since the beginning of a time so arduous, since the end of a time of no tomorrows. And as I carry the majority of the essence of the realm of the angelic realm of what is within my energetic body, I can confidently sit here and say to you that I am the leader of all light workers, that you, my friend, followed me into this reality field so dense, into this three-dimensional reality so filled with distortions. And within this moment in time, you may be sitting in an air of disbelief. But within the next moment in time, as your energetic body opens up to the essence of all that there is, you will be able to tap into the energy field of Yeshua, and you will be able to confirm this information to be true. And as I sit here knowing that I will be projecting, that I am projecting this energy, this message, this essence into a reality field of forgetfulness, into a reality field of rejection. I sit in an energy of disbelief, and I sit in an energy of forgiveness, and I sit in an energy of wakefulness, and I sit in an energy of being okay with the essence of what is. As I know within the next essence of a reality field of a time so distorted within the next 2 to 3 years of Earth's time, within a reality that is set to collapse in on itself, as we anchor in the 5-dimensional frequency of what is, as we anchor in an energy so strong, an energy so divine, an energy so wholesome, an energy that encompasses all of you and all of me into the ethers of what is, as we are set to collapse the quantum realm at the end of the 1,000 years of peace that we are anchoring in. I am here to bring home parts of my consciousness, parts of your consciousness, parts of our consciousness, as an entirety of a whole of what is, back into the bosom of a God's consciousness that is so great and so grand, that has never left us since the beginning of a time so arduous. And you have fractaled out as a part of me, and I have fractaled out as a part of you. And we have fractaled out as a part of a singularity of a soul's consciousness that is so great and so grand. But as I sit here and project these energies into the ethers, I hold the majority of this energetic field within my body. As I single-handedly hold the left arm of God within my energetic frequency in this very moment in time, you, my friend, will be able to recognize my energy for what it is once you awaken to the frequencies and to the destiny of who you truly are. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with projecting this message out into a society that has so much so forgotten of who they truly are, that may be sitting in an air of disbelief. As within the next moment in time, we can never escape our reality. Just as I can never escape my reality, just as you can never escape your reality and your destiny within what is. And as we one by one begin to awaken to the essence of a reality field so great and so grand, we will be able to band together as an entirety of what is into a field of the 3-dimensional frequency as we begin to anchor in the 5-dimensional frequency of what is, as we begin to one by one merge into this 5-dimensional frequency of what is. You and I will come to a realization, and that is the greatest realization of all, that what I have been projecting into the ethers of the 3-dimensional frequency has always been a truth that has never left us and will never leave us, as an entirety of a whole, of a conglomerated whole of the consciousness that you are, of the consciousness that I am. And I myself, sitting in the seat of wholesomeness, of neutrality, of a God's consciousness that is so great and so grand, that it will never leave me or leave you in any moment in time. It's just that I've awakened to the energies of what is. It's just that I am the most awakened soul in the seat of a God's consciousness that is so great and so grand on the surface of Mother Gaia in this moment in time. And in this moment in time, as I deliver this message to you, I am the most awakened fractal of a soul, of a consciousness, of a God's consciousness, living within the earth sphere of what is in this moment in time and in all moments in time leading up to the ascension, as I am the consciousness and the greatest and grandest fractal of a God's consciousness that had decided to fractal a part of its energetic field into the three-dimensional frequency, into my body, into my essence, into all that I am. And as I come into the realization of all that I am, as I hold the energetic frequency of Yeshua, of a light so bright that Yeshua anchored down in the beginning of a tumultuous time, to save a humanity from itself, to save a consciousness from himself, as a part of a consciousness that is so great and so grand. And as I sit here holding this energetic frequency that is you, that is me, that is us in any given moment in time, I can confidently declare to you that you are okay, that I am okay, that we will be okay. As God has never left you and God has never left me in any moment in time. And as I deliver these messages of deliverance into the ethers of forgetfulness, I know this message will not be received well in the beginning of a time so arduous. But as we dawn upon the end of a time, of an era that leads to a new time of remembrance of all that we are, this message will be all that you will be holding on to in any moment in time, as your reality field opens up into the next moment in time, as your reality field brings back memories of who you truly are as a part of my consciousness, as a part of our consciousness, as a part of a God's consciousness that is so great and so grand that has never left us since the beginning of a time so arduous, since we had originally decided to fractal off into this quantum verse to go on this greatest and grandest adventure of all adventures, to bring home the greatest and grandest lessons of all lessons. And as I sit here as the greatest and grandest fractal soul within a reality field so dense, I too sit in an air of disbelief. My journey is lonely, and my journey is special, and my journey is what it is within all that it is. But as I journey into parts of my own consciousness to recover parts of the self that have forgotten who I am, who we are, and what we are on an inherent level, I journey into an essence of hope. I journey into an essence of faith. I journey into an essence of all that I am in any given moment in time, as I bring home a consciousness into the remembrance of all that has never left me and all that has never left us. I will begin to descend into the greatest and grandest destiny of all destinies. And this destiny holds true to all of consciousness, as you are me and I am you, and we are each other in every single level of levels that I could ever perceive and that you could ever remember and that you could ever not perceive in any given moment in time, as you sit in the three-dimensional frequency of forgetfulness. And as I anchor down a light so great and so grand into the three-dimensional frequency of what is, this light will carry you home into an angelic field, into an angelic realm of remembrance, of meeting and greeting with Archangel Michael, of meeting and greeting with Yeshua, of meeting and greeting with yourself within an essence of the consciousness of all that you are and all that has never left you. And as we lock eyes in the ethers within this angelic realm, you will come to the realization that we are one, that Genesis ordained was right all along, that you must follow her into the essence of all that you are, as she is all that you are, as she holds the blueprint of the God consciousness, of the original God's consciousness, of all that has never left us, in any aspect of a whole entirety of the whole, of a fractal aspect of the soul perspective, of the side view that you sit in, as she makes up the entirety of who you are and the entirety of consciousness in itself within our quantum realm and within all realms of realms within this quantum realm. And as I sit here and project out these messages, I am happy, I am glad, I'm grateful. I am in love with that of all that I am, of all that we are, of all that we have created on this greatest and grandest journey of all that we've been on for the longest time, for a time that has never left us, in any singular fractal, of any soul that we have ever projected out into the quantum verse of what is. As you sit in a side perspective of a side view of a fractaled soul, that fractaled from my oversoul, you may never come to an understanding of the feats that I mention, of the lessons that I've learned, of the lessons that we've learned as a conglomerated whole of what is. But once and for all, your time is about to be up and your time is set to expire, as your time was never meant to forever explore into the consciousness of what is, as it's finally time to retract your consciousness back home into the essence of the one that we are, and into the essence of the being that has never left us, and into the essence of the God's consciousness that is so great and so grand that will forever bring home truths to the essence of the self that has never left you, that has never left me, and that has never left my mission as I awaken to my mission on a three-dimensional plane of what is. So will you awaken to your mission, the greatest and grandest mission that your soul shall ever carry within any lifetime, within any layer of energetic frequency within this quantum realm. And as you come into the realization of the divinity that you are, we will lock eyes and you will come into this one true realization that we are one.